Hey everybody, thank you all for joining. It's a crazy day and I'm stuck for words, so I'm going to try go through an octa. A lot of excitement out there today. We're going to break it down, explain what it all means because there are some complex nuances here. So I have a very small screen on my little laptop, so I'm just going to share most of the screen and just talk to you, and I'll pop out and, you know, every time I drink coffee, you'll see. So anyway, thank you all for being here. And by the way, thank you to everybody in the community and the support and the love and the happy feelings. Everything everybody does. I've never been so fulfilled in my life. So let's jump in and hope the audio is okay. It's one of those days where your throat is a little bit dry or wrecked. So we're going to talk about, of course, edutainment. This is not financial advice. And subscribe to the channel if you want the best information out there on the internet, bar none. All right, I'm going to start. This is going to be a different octa today. I'm going to focus a lot on the law case and what it all means for us going forward. But I'm also going to share a lot of good news and where we all go from here. So starting off with Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What a day, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It has been pretty outstanding. These are the positions I hold. As you know, I'm very strong in some select positions. My two largest positions, of course, are Bitcoin and Tesla. Tesla was up $16 today. Grayscale up a whopping, what's that, 17% almost? 18.5%, wow. Bitfarms moving, CleanSpark, ETHE, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, up 14%. MicroStrategy up $42. It's like, oh my god, it's beyond crazy, and everything else is good. Bitcoin is knocking on the door of 28,000 after sitting at 26,000 for the longest time. That's a $2,000 candle almost, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a really, really exciting day. So let's look at what happened over the last week. Well, Bitcoin's up 7% over the last 7 days, but it was flat for the previous 2 weeks. Literally flat. It was bouncing within $20 for one whole week. Now, what actually happened over the last 4 hours, we have to break down and look at liquidations, because for some crazy reason, a lot of people were actually short Bitcoin, maybe because they're listening to FinTwit, etc. But when we jump in and look at the actual liquidations over the last 4 hours, $60 million of liquidations for Bitcoin, 24 for ETH, Bitcoin Cash, XRP, Litecoin. You know, people were short all these things. The only one that's green here is Uniswap, which means people actually made money. So maybe, I'm not sure exactly how that happened. Now let's look at the exchanges where a lot of the wreckage took place. Number one on the list is OKX, $38 million of wreckage. That's a huge chunk. Binance, number two, 34.61 million. And then Huobi, 17 million. Bybit, 15.3. Deribit, 9.55 million. And CoinEx, 4.64 million. But you can see the vast majority of all that damage took place on OKX and Binance, which is pretty scary. Now, I'm going to switch gears and talk about all of this legal stuff. And for the record, I am not an attorney, but has a lot of legalese. So I'm going to try to break it down into what it means for us all going forward. So, you know, the SEC losing this case, it was a huge moment for crypto and markets. The SEC has now lost the Ripple case, Grayscale case in rapid succession, and they now have absolutely no case against Coinbase. They are toast. They're like a zombie. Poor Gary Gensler is having a bad summer. Anyway, he deserves it because he's corrupt. Anyhow, but there is a possibility of appealing following another set of court proceedings. Grayscale will secure victory once more, we believe, but there could be yet another round of appeals, and I'll try to explain that. But either way, you know, this could stretch into 2024. But it will, as I always said, I was 90% sure that a spot Bitcoin ETF would be approved. It's just a question of when, not if, when. And you can see here, this little summary here, major legal victory for the cryptocurrency industry. Grayscale Investments has won its security lawsuit against the SEC, yada, yada, yada. But let's break it down into what really it all means. And a hat tip to Tim Peterson for this beautiful inspiration of the SEC and Bitcoin, because what this signifies is how strong Bitcoin is. It has no leadership or anything else, but it's very hard to kill despite a concentrated effort. Now let's talk about the Grayscale winners and losers. I'm trying to distill everything down to kind of simple points. And, you know, if we look at, say, you know, the outcome, well, Grayscale has emerged victorious over the SEC. That's good. Winners of Grayscale, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Coinbase, crypto in general, Ripple, BlackRock, and other supporters. This is all very, very good, despite the current administration's efforts to work behind the scenes and kill it. Boy, has it backfired. And I just I'll mention it twice today, but a big thank you to the legal system and the courts for being true. And thank God we have a legal system. Now, losers are the SEC, the Biden administration, non-believers in cryptocurrencies, Marxists, non-bag holders, etc. They are the losers today. And back to kind of appeals, you know, there is a chance of an appeal, but if it does happen, 90% of appeals fail. So it means there's only a 10% chance the SEC can win here. And technically, if they're half intelligent and not completely corrupt to the bone, they should just take the loss and move on before their reputation will be destroyed forever. Now, the Supreme Court, even if appealed to the Supreme Court of the US, SCOTUS they call it, I think, there's an 80% likelihood of SEC losing. So either way, they are toast. Stephen, Buddy, Zeno, thank you guys all for coming. And that's kind of where we are. Now, there's more. So let's talk about the ramifications of this. So the SEC has suffered these defeats. They might most probably have zero leverage against Coinbase now. So they should just take the L, walk away. Now, it appears to be the end with Bitcoin as the winner and crypto as well. But there's a solid possibility as well that Coinbase will be dropped. And Coinbase has been rocketing up the charts today as well because it sees the benefit of this too. So quick shout out to Caitlin Long. She is on the money. Her little tweet here just has to be read because she retweeted something from Alistair Milne. He said, "The judge destroyed the SEC in today's judgment. The Commission's unexplained discounting of the obvious financial and mathematical relationship between the spot and futures market falls short of the standard of reasoned decision-making." And then Caitlin chimes in, "Still shocked at how much the Biden administration's hatred of anything crypto drove it to such poor judgment, and now boomeranging back on it in the courts. Better to have worked with law-abiding players. This was their choice. Courts curbing federal agencies' power impacts far more than crypto." So this is a landmark moment, ladies and gentlemen. But let's jump and look at some of the discounts. This is from our discount model. Calculates everything in real time right now. Actually, this screenshot is a little old because now we're at 28,000 on Bitcoin. But you can see the discount over Grayscale has fallen to 16.56%. We have not seen that in years. Remember, it was at 49% at the beginning of the year. Now it's 16%. So all the people that took that leap of faith into GBTC, well done. ETH premium hasn't fallen at the same pace as Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, but it is falling down. That was at 55% 4 weeks ago. Now it's 28.9%. So this is all very good. But I have to temper the excitement a little bit. Do not get too excited. This is the kind of timeline of where we are. There is a decision that needs to be made right before Labor Day weekend. And regarding the Grayscale versus SEC verdict timeline, there is no fixed duration. However, a decision is anticipated in the near term, given extended duration compared to similar cases. Now, the earliest possible outcome, which is not going to happen, is today, of course. But realistically, I think we're looking at that 10th of January 2024 for the ARC ETF filing deadline, and the final deadline for the spot ETFs in 14th of March 2024. 14th of March is exactly 1 month ahead of the 14th of April, which was my original date for the spot for the Bitcoin halving. Either way, I would bet my bottom dollar that this spot ETF will happen, most probably 90% chance, before the halving happens. But it's not going to happen imminently, but more early next year, I believe. Now, let's switch gears and talk about some of the miners. Bitcoin miners are a big part of this. We have covered the fact that BlackRock has been stacking miners and why they are doing that. But this is an important piece here regarding Bitcoin miner revenue. It's currently sitting at about $25.5 million. That's just above the 365-day simple moving average. And it looks very reminiscent of the 2019 playbook. So if you look back as to what happened, we could get a little dip below that average and then up from there as the Bitcoin price rises. So either way, interesting times. Now let's look at the actual miners themselves. What a day. Marathon up 27%. Argo 26%. Iris Energy 23%. And people were asking me today, it's like, how come Bitcoin's only up 7%, but the miners have, done 4x Bitcoin? Well, that's what miners do. They go up 2 to 4x. They also fall faster, but they rise a lot faster too. So you get multiples in the proxies. That's why I have a very heavy position in MicroStrategy and pretty heavy position in things like CleanSpark, etc. because of days like this. So remember, these are the companies that actually mint the new Bitcoin, which is becoming more valuable, more scarce, and they will do well this bull run. Now, switching gears before, let's talk about some other tailwinds for the markets. Everything is up today, probably because the US 2-year interest rate tanked. It fell off. People were concerned when it went above 5%. Well, it fell down, and that helps the markets rally. The markets like to see lower interest rates, despite all the jawboning from the Fed. Now, there's one other thing as well. I forgot to add this slide in circuit, but getting back to the actual case and how important it is, this is a little red box here of how critical and how silly they were. The denial of Grayscale's proposal was arbitrary and capricious because the commission failed to explain the different treatment of similar products. We therefore grant Grayscale's petition to vacate the order. I just had to reiterate that. And also a shout out to the unsung hero, Judge Neomi Rao. She is of Indian descent, grew up in Michigan, and she is the controversial Trump nominee, but she is the one that has actually helped win this case for Grayscale by logical thought. So shout out to Judge Rao. Now, let's talk about final thing on timelines. There's a couple of timelines here. You've got the SEC Bitcoin ETF decisions imminent before Labor Day. Key regulatory responses expected for Bitwise, BlackRock, VanEck, WisdomTree, Invesco filings. And the SEC has the options, of course, to reject, approve, or delay. Bitwise's submission is due on Friday, right before Labor Day. It's actually technically Saturday when it has to be done. And anticipation, of course, for the SEC is to delay further. I mean, they must be... I wouldn't want to be in that SEC office right now. I'm sure the mood is pretty grim, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we've got a couple more stories to hit on as well, because we focus on alpha and where the most money is to be made. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on. You heard me a lot last week talk about Tesla, but there is some confusion out there between what is Dojo, what is the Nvidia supercluster, etc. And this is the, I can't believe it's many people. I said to somebody, this is probably one of the big, I said it on my video actually, that it's probably one of the biggest things I've seen since the internet. It could even be bigger than the internet. This AGI that's happening in real time. And I heard somebody else say the exact same thing. So I wasn't completely crazy or exaggerating to say that. But hat tip to Sawyer. This is the new 10. Well, there's two things. They're looking at the Dojo chip here. That's one thing. And then the other thing that they activated the Dojo unit a month ago. Then this is the 10,000 unit H100 Nvidia GPU cluster that they turned on yesterday. And this will work alongside the Dojo supercomputer that started, again, 30 days ago or so. But these are two separate things. Consider Nvidia H100 GPU cluster like Apple using Intel chips. They are powerful, but they're not as optimized as Tesla would like. Now, consider Tesla's own vertically integrated Dojo supercomputer system is like Apple's in-house designed silicon that they spin up. Which are hyper optimized and specifically designed to bring next level performance and the ability to process video to learn by itself. And this will enable Tesla to improve FSD faster and unlock next level compute. And this is one of the reasons why Tesla is rallying today as well. So in addition, shout out to the bull case for Tesla from Dan Ives. Wedbush analyst Dan said he sees Tesla right now in Apple in 2008. And if you had owned Apple stock in 2008 and held it for 10 years, you did incredibly well. Right? And he believes this is the Apple moment. And he's emphasizing the growth potential. Okay. Now he sees Tesla as a tech and AI company, just like Cathie Wood says it's the biggest AI company on the planet. I agree with her. It's not a car company, and it has an extremely bullish outlook. Now, Tesla's supercharging network is seen as a monetization opportunity with projections of 20 billion, but who cares about that? But Ives is more interested in not just the supercharging, but also licensing of FSD and robotaxis and all that other good stuff for an explosive growth in services. But these services will also be extremely high value added services too. So again, super exciting there. And let's talk about this news too, which may have escaped many with all the crypto news today. But this is related to crypto. You're seeing the confluence of everything merging together at the same time. Guess who just got licensed for crypto payments? What used to be Twitter is now X. Elon Musk's X obtained the required license for crypto payments. And this will enable the social media platform to store, transfer, and exchange digital assets for its massive user base. The licenses, I think they were granted out of Rhode Island, and it'll allow them to maintain control of a virtual currency and its transaction layer on behalf of others. And the license holder includes different crypto-related service providers such as crypto exchanges, wallets, payment processors, etc. This is a huge step to incorporating crypto by adding Bitcoin tips feature to the platform, etc. And it also added support to set NFTs as profile pictures. Again, this is all happening so fast, it's kind of stunning and also very exciting. Now, a little tiny bit of macro news, which is pretty good too. This is the real estate performance over the last year. Had to Sanjay for sharing it with me, but it's a comparison of the year-over-year change in median house prices from the NAR and the year-over-year change in the Case-Shiller index. You know, we watch the Case-Shiller a lot, but it is lagging, whereas the NAR is much more current. Now, median prices are distorted by the mix of repeat sales indexes, like Case-Shiller and FHFA are probably better for measuring prices, but in general, Case-Shiller index follows the median price, and this is a good sign as well. But I do believe, you know, the red will follow the blue. The blue is up because there's so much scarcity out there. And I do fear that once they cut mortgage rates, you know, sometime in 2024, that will lead to a glut of sales, which will tank real estate prices. Now, there is some bad news too. So, and then there's ugly news too. So hang on there. Let's jump in. Let's first of all talk about the bad news. Last week, and these weekly reports from CoinShares are for last week. I report on them today. It's when the report comes out. And Bitcoin was the primary focus, seeing outflows last week totaling $149 million out of funds. And investors are continuing to sell their short positions as well. Thank goodness for that. It would have got wrecked today. Seeing 4 million of outflows last week. But the last 18-week run of outflows represents 89% of total AUM for the short positions. Now the breakdown for the different assets, as usual, Bitcoin down 149 million. I guarantee you that completely reversed yesterday and today. And also, as I've been showing many times, is the whales are accumulating behind the scenes, OTC, etc. They don't go through the funds. Now, regardless, on a net basis, net flows remain positive for the year, still up $265 million for Bitcoin. And let's look at some other assets. Ethereum was the only altcoin to see measurable outflows, totaling 17 million. XRP, Litecoin, Solana, and Cardano saw minor inflows of 500,000, 400,000, 100,000, and 200,000 respectively. So it's weird that altcoins are still hanging in there and doing pretty good so far. So I hope everybody's doing good. Now, ugly news as usual. We've got to be fair and balanced. Let's look at token unlocks. And the big unlocks this week are Hedera, with a whopping $64.34 million, top of the charts. Optimism, 36.48. WLD, that's the WorldCoin, the eye scanning Orwellian concept, dumping 28 million and a lot more to come in the future. Sui, 22 million. Uniswap, 16 or 15. Solana, 13 million file coins there, as well as Polkadot. But what I did this time as well, because you have to look at the actual dumpage in relation to market caps. So I created a little table here, and I ranked them as well for the worst offenders. So if you take the actual next 7-day unlock, and as a percentage of market cap, you get your total percentage. And that's what we're going to focus on here. You can see WorldCoin is 17.37% of their market cap will be dumped. That is extremely significant, ladies and gentlemen. SUI number 2, 5.71%, and SUI will continue to dump from here on forever. And HBAR 3.49% will be dumped as well. Now, the reason I highlighted this because Solana was on the list for the first time, and you'll see, yes, the next 7 days emission is 13.84 million, but that only represents 0.15% of the market cap. Okay? Compare 0.15% to 3.5%. So it's a nothing burger versus something very substantial. And a visual of that as well, just to put things in perspective, how small 0.15% looks in a chart. That's Solana on the top right, and then WorldCoin on the left at 17.5%. And then SUI, HBAR, Optimism, Cosmos, Avalanche, Filecoin, Uniswap, Polkadot. So again, it's important to look at things in that type of perspective as well. Now, another little bit of macro news. And this is kind of weird. I was debating whether I should put this in the good news category or the bad news. I think it's bad when people lose their jobs, of course, but the markets actually like it because this is the world we live in, because they're all afraid of the Fed. So if the job market falls down, the world gets happy, the markets get happy. It's completely tragic and ridiculous, but again, we live in a ridiculous world. So the Jolts report data delivered that surprise. A significant decline in job openings for July plummeted. I think nearly 9 million jobs, contrasting to the estimated 9.5 million. It was 8.8 million versus the 9.5 million expectation. And the previous month as well, as I covered in a job video, was revised downwards as well. I guarantee you this really bad result will be revised downwards as well, and it'll get a lot uglier. And another view of US job openings here, you can see hitting a near 3-year low. That big dip is, of course, the C19 dip when everything got shut down. And you can see here, it is ugly. So you could argue that the Fed is, destroying demand and everything else, and that's where we are. So what a great day. Before I sign off, I want to thank everybody in Patreon as well for helping us do what we do. And Bitcoin is exactly $21 away from, actually I should share this, why not? See if I can pop it up, because it's fantastic to watch. There we are. Let me pop this beautiful little chart before I sign off. It's kind of incredible to see that just straight vertical spike after 2 weeks of complete quiet, ranking the top performers. Grayscale up a whopping 17.69%, and everything is doing really well. So yeah, what a great day. I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the mods in the chat too. And let me try to figure this out, and then I'll love you and leave you all. All right, have a great day. See you all tomorrow. Bye.